George Floyd's death sparked a worldwide movement and some raw conversations about race and equality. One of those conversations happened at the Washington Ballet. Dancers of color shared their stories about navigating bias and microaggressions in an art form they've dedicated their lives to. Here's WUSA 9 anchor Larry Miller with a special assignment report, Poised and Resilient.
I feel like there's a hyperfixation on things that look overtly racist versus the microaggressions and the small things that add to a bigger sum total. It's not just being denied access. It's like the door is open and we are there. Now what?
Nadia Boudou is just one dancer in Washington Ballet's more than 30-member troupe, but her story is one that resonates with a community of dancers that look just like her.
Sometimes as a ballerina, you kind of walk into a situation and for some people it's accepted, and for some others you're scrutinized a little bit more.
For many dancers of color, the beauty they bear on stage in part comes from the pain they experience off stage. There are the unfounded stereotypes about the physical ability of black dancers, like being able to adequately point their feet, their body types, and if they can achieve the right aesthetic for the art form.
This thing called legacy casting, where you place a person in a role based off of how they look. And where does someone like me end up? Because if Aurora is blonde with blue eyes, I don't get to do Aurora.
Boudou and others shared their experiences with the company and staff during a Zoom call after the death of George Floyd last summer.
For the first time in a company or in a dance setting, I felt like I have a voice.
Floyd's death ignited international outcry for justice and a confrontation with the truth. For ballet dancers, the culture of ballet doesn't always reward outspokenness, but Floyd's death would usher in a new step.
Be proud even of your mistakes. Yes, yes. Right?
During that call, artistic director Julie Kent would get a front row seat, learning how race impacts her dancers both on and off the stage.
Part of my blind spot was my generation of colorblindness. In the ballet world, looking at the dancer in front of you only as the dancer in front of you. What that is not including is the person and their experience as a person of color outside the dance studio.
What was that moment like for you when you realized that it was probably a lot worse than what you recognized or what you were aware of?
I felt like I failed my dancers. And it remains a very painful realization that I was so unaware of their experience as people of color, not just in the studio, but in life in general.
I think what I learned was that the small microaggressions were actually very, very big. And things that we might just culturally as a ballet community have unfortunately accepted as normal needed to be changed immediately.
Since that call, the Washington Ballet formed a diversity, equity, and belonging working group to look at the core values of the organization and how everyone within it is being represented. They even hired a consultant to help them pinpoint what's working and what isn't. So far, they've made changes. Students in the Washington Ballet School can now wear their natural hair and wear tights that match their skin tone. These may seem small, but they go a long way in validating students and company members in their natural form.
It's a leveling of the playing field now. It seems stable. It's too soon to be like everything's better, but there's an awareness within all of us. We're reclaiming right now. And it never belonged to others. It belonged to us the whole entire time, and we've been here, and we're gonna keep going.
Beautiful. The dancers also spoke about how the pandemic impacted the company, both artistically and financially. You can see that part of the story on our WUSA 9 mobile app and our website.